So when you're ready, if you bring your hands to your opposite shoulders and just let your fingers grip the shoulders, and maybe closing your eyes or just lower your gaze if you like. And before we begin with the breathing, if you just take a moment to greet yourself. And then you might notice your breath, and that as you breathe, your shoulders quite gently rise and fall with the breath. So you're not pushing the shoulders up and dropping them down. Just relax the shoulders completely and maybe breathe a bit more deeply. And see if you can begin to notice how much the shoulders move with the breath. You could use Ujjayi breathing if you like, or ocean breath, just to encourage your breathing to slow down. And then if you release your shoulders, but keep your arms crossed and tuck your fingers into your armpits. So with your fingers tucked into your armpits, again, see if you can become aware of the breath, maybe moving or breathing a bit more smoothly and deeply. And see if you can feel how the breath moves into the armpits. And then letting the hands slide down just a little bit so that the hands are either side of the chest. And seeing if you can feel the movement of the breath in the sides of the ribs. And you could even direct the breath into the sides of the ribs so that as you inhale, you feel the ribs broadening out to either side. So see if you can consciously direct the breath into the sides of the ribs. And actually, I'm just thinking of you, Catherine, with your running, that you'll breathe into all of these parts when you run spontaneously. So it's like aerobic exercise in a way, what we're doing, but without the, but we're doing it more slowly and consciously, I guess. But yeah, so it's the, all of these are like the accessory muscles of breathing. So if you maybe uncross your arms and take your thumbs round the back of your ribs and have your fingers round the front. And when I was taught this a long time ago, I was taught not to bring the hands onto the waist, the palms onto the waist, but to have the palms parallel to the floor. Although I've been thinking about it, I can't work out why that would be. But anyway, so you've just got the index finger and the thumb in contact with the floating ribs. So the lowest ribs at the top of the abdomen or the bottom of the rib cage, round about where the diaphragm is, and see if you can flare the floating ribs out to the sides as you breathe in. And you might like to imagine the diaphragm moving downwards. And then as you breathe out, you could even use the strength of your arms to actively squeeze your hands in towards your spine and your center. So when you inhale, you release the pressure, so you let the floating ribs flare and broaden. And then as you exhale, you squeeze the floating ribs in. Imagine the diaphragm moving up towards the lungs. You could even exhale and make your abdomen firm. And then as you inhale, let the ribs flare, the belly expand, and the diaphragm move down. Okay, and then if you release your hands and lace your fingers, and if you lace your fingers but stretch your thumbs, and then also stretch your middle fingers. So your middle fingers are stretched out and your thumbs are stretched out, and the thumbs reach away from the middle fingers as well. And then if you turn the hands so that the heels of the hands open, and then bring the thumbs against the bottom of the breastbone around about the solar plexus, and let the middle fingers stretch upwards. And if you bring your attention to your chest, and as you breathe in, you might feel the shoulders rise up, the armpits and the sides of the ribs and the lowest ribs flaring out, broadening out as you breathe in. And see if you can also feel the breastbone sliding up towards you on the inhale. And then on the exhale, the shoulders and the breastbone slide down as the lungs deflate. So breathing into all of those areas as you inhale, and letting all of those areas relax as you exhale. And then if you maybe also just maybe drop the chest, and you could also lower the chin and slide the elbows forwards and bring the attention to the middle and upper back. And now see if you can direct the breath into the back of the body, so that as you inhale, you feel the lungs at the middle and the upper back expanding. And then releasing. Okay, and then if you release your hands and maybe just rest your arms wherever's comfortable, and let the chest lift up again, so lengthening up through the spine. And before we start to move, just finishing with one last thing. If you have your spine upright and feel into all of those areas, and when I was taught this, the image that was given to me, I know Ali's heard me say this, um, was to imagine your chest, your thorax, to be like a box of cereal, and see if you can breathe into all of the sides of this imaginary box at once, so that as you inhale, your shoulders rise up as your diaphragm moves down, So that's the top and the bottom of the box. And the sides of the box broaden out. So the sides of the ribs broaden and flare. And then the front and the back of the box, the breastbone, the chest and the back of the ribs also expand. So I wonder if you could do a few breaths, breathing into all sides at once. As you breathe out, you can just breathe out slowly, relaxing. Okay, so gently opening the eyes and releasing from there, and let's make our way up to standing. We'll see if we can breathe a bit like that in some of the postures and practices that we do. But just for now, if you can stand with your legs apart and drop into the knees a little bit, so have the legs bent, and just let the arms hang down by your sides. And if you just start to swing, try to keep the arms really relaxed and let the arms swing as you twist. Now, if you like, you could put a teensy tiny bit of effort into the arms so that they begin to swing round and your hand might tap the opposite kidney almost. You can take it higher up so that you tap or slap the back of the shoulder, and then maybe take it back down if you did go up. And then if you slowly relax until you come back to the middle. And then when you're in the middle, if you swing the arms forwards and back, and you could have a little bounce in your knees, and see if you can slowly take it higher and higher. Make sure you're not going to whack anything behind you. Make sure you've got space. And if you take it higher and higher until the arms almost meet at the top. And then what we're going to do is keep the arms going in that direction. You might have done this as a child in the playground. It's the kind of thing you might have done at some point. So keep the arms circling in that direction. And if you like, you could increase the velocity. So you speed it up. And then if you slow it back down, and I wonder if you could slow it down and meet them at the top and then change direction and keep going in the other direction, maybe speeding it up, increasing the velocity. I'm sure this might be rustling my microphone. Sorry about that. And then slowing it down until you get back to the swing. And then if you just let your arms settle and maybe just standing, pausing with your eyes closed or your gaze lowered, and just feel the impact, the effect in your heartbeat, your breath. You might get a sense of pulsation in the core of the body, or just the increase of vibration in the body. So just noticing that. And then if you start connecting back to the breath in a steadier, smoother way, perhaps using Ujjayi breath, and on an inhale, gently open your eyes if they're closed, and maybe stretch into your fingers and your thumbs. You can keep your feet parallel, your legs apart, and see if you can begin to, as you inhale, take the arms out and up And then as you exhale, bring the arms parallel down the front of the body and do another circle in that direction. And then on the third circle, we're going to reverse it. So then inhaling, bring the arms parallel up the front. Exhale and the arms come down the side. And that's the sequence with the arms. So do that again, starting at the beginning. So up the sides, down the front, twice. And then on the third round, inhaling up the front and down the side. So let's go again from the beginning. So remember, the third one changes. Let's do it once more. 3 circles. The first 2, the arms go up the sides. And when the arms come parallel down the front, the circle ends with the hands by the hips. And then the third circle again goes parallel up the front, and the circle ends with the arms coming all the way down, hands by the hips. So you can do this next sequence, same thing with the arms. You can do it with the legs together or apart. Maybe, yeah, I'll let you choose. So inhaling, start again. Arms come up the sides. And then as the arms come parallel down the front towards the hips, at the same time, hinge at the hips so that you end up in a flat back forward bend. Remember, the circle ends with the hands by the hips, and then you start again. Second circle up the sides and then down the front, and the hands end by the hips, or the circle ends there. And then as you reverse the arms, you bend both knees, arms come up the front and then down the sides. So let's start again. Inhaling, arms come up the sides and then down the front, arms parallel. The circle ends at the hips, and you hold the flat back forward bend as you take the arms up the sides again, and then exhale back down the front to the hips, then reversing as you bend the knees. So let's do that again. So it's 3 arm circles. The second circle, you hold the flat back forward bend. And the third circle takes you through Utkatasana. Let's do it one last time. And again, at the end, when your hands land either side of your hips, you might like to just very briefly close your eyes and just feel into the echo of very simple movement in the sensation of the arms, the breath, the heart, the chest. And then we'll take it into the sun salutation. So if you bring your legs together, I do remember teaching this, by the way, Maria, at Esporta many years ago. I remember. So yeah, it might ring vague bells from the past. So bringing your legs together, or bringing your feet together and bringing your arms down by your sides for the sun salutations, and stretching your fingers and your thumbs. And again, just starting with a moment of stillness before we move into what is quite a dynamic sun salutation. So just come to stillness. I'm going to give options. So yeah, just see how you go. So we'll start when you're ready, inhaling and the arms come up the sides. And then again, down the front as you come into a flat back forward bend. And the first circle ends with the hands at the hips. And then you do the second circle in the flat back forward bend. And you bring the hands back down to the hips. And the third circle now, both knees bend, but you stay in the flat back. And you might bend your knees enough to touch the floor as you take your right foot back. Bring the back knee onto the ground and then let the arms come parallel up the front for the third circle. Keep the back foot tucked under so that it's ready for you to come into down dog. And let's just come into down dog for a few breaths. Feel free to walk through your feet if you want to, or if you want to be still, then you can just be still. Just take some breaths. And then if you bring both knees onto the ground at the same time and slip the toes back and sit back on your heels in child. And again, just take a few breaths here. And in child, you can bring your forehead to the ground, obviously. I'm not because of my microphone, but see if you can just take a few breaths here, but really direct the breath into the middle and the upper back so that you feel the ribs at the back of the body expanding on the inhale. And then if you lift your chin and look forwards and creep your hands as far forwards as you can, keeping your hips back, spreading the fingers and the thumbs, spread the toes behind you and keep the tops of the feet on the ground as you inhale, dive the heart between the hands and then push up onto all fours, cat stretching when you get there, tucking the toes under, hover the knees above the ground. And with the knees just a centimetre hovering above the ground, pull the navel into the spine and see if you can let the pubic abdomen lift your hips up again into down dog. And then in the down dog, bring the right foot forwards, bring the back knee onto the ground. And if you can, keep the left foot tucked under behind you and stand up on your knee. And if you start to circle your arms again up the sides, and then the arms come parallel down the front, touch the floor with your fingertips and bring the left foot forwards. With the legs or the feet together, come to your flat back forward bend, straightening the legs. And then again, take the arms up the sides and then down the front, parallel. And then reverse the arms, bending the knees, passing through Utkatasana to stand up, and then the arms come back down. And we'll do the other side. So inhaling, let the arms come up the sides, parallel down the front, let the hands come all the way back to the hips, and then stay in the flat back as you do your second arm circle up the sides, and then down the front. And then let the arms reverse, but you might touch the ground with your fingertips, just to keep your balance as you take your left foot back, and then you can keep circling the arms up the front, down the side. The back foot is tucked under, ready for down dog. And again, you could be in stillness or walk through the feet. Let's just take a few breaths here. And then if you bring the knees onto the ground, slip the toes back, sit back on the heels and come into child. Again, just for 2 or 3 deep breaths, but seeing if you can breathe consciously into the back of the ribs so they expand. And then if you lift your chin and look forwards and flex your wrists and spread your fingers and creep your hands forwards, spread your toes and try not to lift the feet as you skim the heart along the ground, and then press up onto all fours. Cat stretching when you're on all fours. Hold the cat stretch and then hover the knees and see if you can pull the navel in towards the spine. And then imagine as though the pubic abdominal muscles are lifting your hips into down dog. And then from down dog, step the left foot forwards. Bring the back knee, the right knee, onto the ground and keep the right foot tucked under. And then coming up on your knee, and if you take the arms up the sides, down the front, let the fingertips touch the ground for balance as you bring the right foot forwards. And then straightening the legs into your flat back forward bend, do your second circle, arms up the sides, parallel down the front to your hips, and then reverse the arms as you bend both legs. Okay, and then we'll go again, and there's going to be more options. So if you take the arms up the sides, down the front into your flat back forward bend, do your second circle up the sides, down the front. Now, the next option here is to not touch the floor. So touch the floor if you need to, but bend both knees. As the legs reverse, as the arms reverse, the right foot goes behind you and you bring the back foot on the ground, back knee on the ground. Arms come down the sides, palms down and into down dog. And again, just taking some breath. You might see as you hold down dog if you can breathe into all the different parts of the lungs that we did at the beginning. And so then there is the option to come into child and breathe into the back and miss out this little chaturanga sequence if you want to, or inhale to a tall press-up posture. And as you exhale, seeing if you can keep your body in one long line as you come down to hover above or onto the ground. I bring my knees onto the floor as I come up, but you could come up in a plank if you wanted to. And then when you get to all fours, if you slip your toes back and come to child, and then from child, diving forwards, remember you could press up onto all fours and come into a hovering cat stretch, or you could come into up dog. So you keep the chest moving forwards, and then again use the pubic abdomen to lift your hips, whether you're in up dog or a hovering cat. Use the pubic abdomen to lift your hips into down dog. And then in the down dog, again, bring the right foot forwards, bring the back knee onto the ground, stand up on your left knee with the left foot tucked under, circling the arms up the sides, and maybe not touching the ground this time. See how you go. As the arms come down the front, the back knee lifts, and you step your left foot forward. So your right leg has to be really strong. And you come to your flat back forward bend, and then the arms go up the sides, down the front, and then the arms reverse as you come through Utkatasana, and the arms come down. Let's do the left side. So inhaling up the sides, down the front into a flat back forward bend, and then the second circle in the flat back. And then the arms reverse, and you might touch the ground or you might not. And it's the left foot that steps back into the lunge. So the foot goes back as the arms lift parallel up the front. The back foot is tucked under, ready for down dog. And in down dog, you might just stay for a few breaths, breathing into all of the parts of the lungs. So remember, you could come into child and miss out the chaturanga plank variations. So do that, or inhale, come into plank. You could bring your knees onto the ground and then slowly lower down, seeing if you can hover the body above the ground, or land the pelvis, belly and chest on the ground at once, and then see if you can lift them all in one piece. Up onto all fours and then back into child. And then diving the heart forwards, and you might press up onto all fours or keep traveling forwards into up dog. But whether you're in up dog or a hovering cat posture, use the pubic abdomen if you can to lift your hips up into down dog. And then bring the left foot forwards. So the back knee is on the ground and you stand up on your right leg, right knee, with the back foot tucked under. And then the arms come up the sides, parallel down the front. You might reach forwards and touch the ground, or you might try to have a really strong left leg as the right foot comes forwards and you come to your flat back. And then you do your second circle in the flat back. And the third circle, the arms reverse up the front as the legs bend. And then down the sides. And then let's go again. So inhaling up the sides. Parallel down the front to a flat back. And then second circle. And then the third circle now as the arms reverse, the right foot goes back. See if you can bend the left leg a little bit and slow this down. And if you're not touching the ground, you might send both arms forwards. So really reach the fingers on both hands forwards as the heel reaches back, and then slowly bend the left leg so that you come into a big lunge that way. So it's deeper, and then take the arms down the front, down the side, and then down dog. Taking some breaths again. And then you might come to rest in child and breathe into the back, which would be a really good thing to do. Or if strengthening your arms feels like another good thing to do, you might come into plank and breathe in. You might stay in plank, or you might bring your knees to the floor. And then coming down, if you can, to hover above or onto the ground with the hands by the floating ribs. And then pushing up onto all fours again. Cat stretching back to child. You could flex your wrists here, stretch your fingers and your thumbs, and then try not to lift the feet as you dive forwards, either to press up onto all fours or up dog. But either way, use the pubic abdomen to lift your hips to down dog, and then bring the right foot forwards. So if you stand up on your left knee again with the back foot tucked under, to start circling the arms. And again, slowing this transition down. So the arms come parallel down the front. You lift your back knee, you make your right leg really, really strong as you slowly gather everything in. So the left foot comes next to the right, and then your hands end up by your hips. And then you do your next circle up the sides, down the front, and then reversing up the front and down the sides. And we'll do the left side. So inhaling up the sides and then down the front. And then again. And then if you can manage this, remember, I'm taking it step by step further. So you can just ignore me and touch the floor, or you might try not to touch the floor. As the arms reverse, notice the hands are traveling forwards as the heel travels back. So you might just take advantage and really stretch the fingers forwards, the left foot back as you slowly bend the right leg so that you lower down into quite a big, deep lunge. And then the arms come down the sides and to down dog. And then from your down dog, you might just come down to child and breathe into the back, or inhale to plank. You might stay in plank or bring the knees to the floor, but see if you can slowly lower to hover above or onto the ground. And then up again. And then cat stretching back into child. And then inhaling, diving forwards to your back bend, whichever one you prefer. And then let the pubic abdomen lift your hips into down dog to bring the left foot forwards, the back knee onto the ground, and standing up on the knee, circling the arms again. And as we come forward, notice that the opposite happens. And instead of everything stretching out, everything gathers in. So the hands and the right foot gather in. Make the left leg really strong in that transition. And then again, circling the arms out the sides, down the front, and then reversing. And at the end of this sequence, if you just relax, maybe take the feet a tiny bit apart or a hip width apart, close the eyes, relax the arms down, take a moment to feel in to the heartbeat, the sensations. And then if you bring your hands onto your pelvis or onto your hips, and let's take the right foot back, but have the back heel off the ground. And then drop the arms back down, actually. And if you have both legs straight and your eyes open, because it's a bit of a balance, this one. And again, breathe in and take the arms parallel up the front alongside your ears. And then as you exhale, make your hands into strong fists as you bend both legs, and let your spine be like a plumb line that comes straight down, bending the legs deeply. And then as you inhale, come straight back up again. Arms reaching up, hands stretching, fingers stretching. So you make strong fists on the exhale that end up by your hips. And then you inhale, stretch the fingers and the thumbs as you straighten your legs and come up. And you can come down as much or as little as you like. You could, some of you might come right down onto your back knee. I have to say, as I get older, I notice how much harder this is. So, see, you don't have to come onto the knee. I mean, maybe it's just me, I don't know. I find this really strong. But what I like as you exhale and come down, bring your hands into fists, is to connect that sense of strength and power to the pubic abdomen. So around the core, the source of your power. So let's breathe in, come up. And then next time you breathe out, relax the arms down. Let's step the right foot forwards. Notice how strong your standing leg, your left leg has to be just to step the right foot forwards. And then if you step the left foot back, have the back heel off the ground and both legs straight. And then when you're ready, inhaling, arms come alongside the ears, stretching the fingers and the thumbs, spreading the hands. And then exhale, strong fists. And you're like a plumb line. Your spine is like a plumb line. So you come straight down and then straight up. So exhale slowly and deeply, seeing if you can feel the pubic abdomen become firm and strong and powerful on the exhale. And remember, you absolutely don't have to come all the way down to the ground. Just come down as far as you can sustain. And then if you inhale and come up, and let's release the arms down, step the left foot forwards, feeling, if you slow the transition down, how strong the right leg has to be to bring the left foot forwards. And then take the right foot back again, but this time try to have the back foot flat. So you might turn the right heel in a little bit so that your back leg is, your back foot is flat on the ground, back leg is straight, and have the front leg bent. And if you, again, try to have some containment in the pubic abdomen, so you're not sticking your bottom out, but more trying to lift the front of the pelvis up. And if you take your right hand to the outside of the left thigh, and then the right arm, if you twist it round the back of the waist, so your left fingertip, your left hand is coming round the back of the waist like this. And in fact, you could take hold of the hand, hold the hands and encourage it to come round. And then maybe keep the left arm where it is, the right hand coming across the body to the outer left thigh. So you're twisting. And then although it's very difficult, I think, see if you can breathe into all sides of the lungs again. So although the shoulder is quite constricted, see if you can encourage the breath to kind of access the left shoulder as well as the ribs at the sides and the front and the back. And then if you unravel and swap the legs, so right foot forwards, left foot back, both feet flat on the ground with the left leg bent, front leg, right leg bent, left leg straight, back leg straight, front leg bent. And then let's take the right hand round the back of the waist first, maybe take hold of the hand with the left hand and just encourage it to come round as far as you can. And then perhaps twisting a little to the right to take your left hand to the outer right thigh and see if you can breathe into the sides and the front and the back and the top of the lungs. And then if you unravel, bring the hands on the pelvis and straighten the legs and turn the feet parallel so that you're sideways on. And then turn the right foot out and the left foot in a little bit. And ignoring my dog barking in the background, he's downstairs, but try to ignore him as you bring your left hip forwards and see if you can bend the right leg so the knee comes over the toes and the right hip also is in line with the right knee. So like this, so not like this. So keep the right hip under, and that's assisted when the left hip comes forwards. As your left hip comes forwards, feel how this right hip can You can squeeze in here. I don't know if you can feel that. So then holding that, take the left arm forwards and sweep it behind you like you did in the last posture. And as you take your left hand round the back of your waist, just watch that you don't end up twisting all around here. So keep the right hip under, in line with you should see the right hip can line up with your toes as you take your left shoulder and ribs back. And you could maybe take hold of the hand with the right hand and just encourage it that way. And then take the right arm parallel to the ground, reach forwards, bring the elbow onto the knee, and your fingers, your left fingers might creep to the right thigh. But as you do that, just notice how easy it is to just stick the bottom out behind you and to have the hip not in line with the toes. So keep moving the left hip forwards to bring the right hip under, if that makes sense. And as you hold, lifting the right armpit away from the elbow, the right ribs away from the thigh, see if you can breathe into all parts of the lungs again. So sides, back, front, top of the lungs. And then if you really push down through the right foot to come up and bring the hands on the pelvis, turn the feet the other way. So left foot out, right foot in, right hip moving forwards, and then bending the left knee so it comes over the heel and having the left hip in line, making sure it's not just the knee in line with the toes, but the hip is in line with the toes. And watch that as your right arm comes forwards and sweeps round, that as the right shoulder moves back and the right ribs move back to take the hands behind the waist, sometimes the hip can go back. And as the hip goes back, this happens. And you might feel like you've come a long way, but this is all misaligned. So keep the right hip moving forwards. So the left hip is in line. If you look down, your left thigh should look in line with your toes, hopefully. But you twist at the waist to take the right ribs and shoulder back. Take hold of the left hand and maybe encourage it round. And then take your left arm parallel to the ground, like this. And then every step of the way, just keep the left hip under. So elbow comes onto the knee and your right hand might find your left thigh. You could creep your hands down to the inner thigh, maybe. Keep the left hip squeezing, the left buttock squeezing in to stop the bottom from sticking out behind you. And lift the left armpit, lift the left ribs, and see if you can breathe into all parts of the lungs. And then if you really push down through your left heel to make your way up, turn your feet the other way. And if you bring your legs together or your feet together, and let's just take a breath in to stretch the arms up. And as you breathe out, bend both legs. Come into a forward bend. So bring your belly and your chest onto your thighs, bending your legs as much as you need to get the contact between the belly and the chest and the thighs. And then you could let your head hang down and let your hips lift up as much as you're able to without losing the contact between the chest and the thighs. See if you can take some breaths into the back. And then if you step your feet back, bring the knees down. Maybe come into child just for a breath or two into your back. And we're going to make our way down to the ground, but I just wanted to say, some of you might want to nip to the toilet. If you're using the recording, it's handy, isn't it? Because you can just press pause. So feel free to do that. Or if you're here live, you might want to dash to the toilet before we lie down. Or you might want to make your way up just to gather blankets and pillows and socks and jumpers or whatever you need to get comfortable. So just take your time. So just settling yourself into any position, and take as much time as you need to discover what that position might be. It might be flat on your back. You might have your legs bent, feet flat. You might prefer to curl up onto one of your sides. You might want to sit. You could do the whole of this part of the practice in a sitting meditation if you wish. Just choose what makes you feel happiest. And as you settle, as you get there, seeing if you can just become aware of the sensations in the body. Maybe you might notice a vibratory sensation that pervades the whole body. A tingling. And even if you're still getting ready to settle down, you could still be doing it even as you're moving, noticing the different sensations. So there's no rush to settle. Seeing if you can be aware, even for those of us who are joining the session using the recording, seeing if you can be aware of the shared space that we're all in together. So noticing how our group connection transcends time as well as space, that we're able to be in this group together in different parts of the country. There's nobody else. I think everybody is in the UK. Yeah. But just being aware of the group space that transcends space and time. And whilst being in this group space, also being aware of your own private personal space. So being aware of the room that you're in. And, obviously some of us are here, not completely, there's somebody else in the room, but then there's others of us who are in a room on our own. So just being aware of the private space that you're in and the group space. And then see if you can step back entirely energetically from the computer or the tablet or whatever you're using and feel the ground beneath your body where you are. Feel the solid earth underneath your body. See if you can try not to think about this so much as actually sense the earth as she stretches down for many hundreds of miles. And I wonder if you can sense through the flesh and the bones and the arms and the legs, through the surface of the planet, all the way down to the bedrock. Can your body sense the bedrock of the planet and the solidity and stability and the strength and the power of the bedrock? And then come back to the vibratory sensation in the right hand. See if you can feel the whole of the right arm, and the right shoulder. Feel the vibratory sensation in the right shoulder. And then seeing if you can feel the vibratory sensation in the left hand, or the tingling in the left hand. The left arm, the left shoulder. And become aware of the sensation in the right foot. The whole of the right leg. And the right hip. Become aware of the sensation in the left foot. Left leg. Left hip. Now see if you can become aware of the right hand at the same time as the left foot. So right hand, left foot. Now feel the right arm, the whole of the right arm at the same time as the whole of the left leg. And the right shoulder and the left hip. See if you can feel both at the same time. And bring the awareness now to the left hand. And see if you can feel the left hand at the same time as the right foot. Now feel the left arm. Feel the left arm at the same time as the right leg. And then the left shoulder at the same time as the right hip. Left shoulder, right hip. Now can you feel both hands, both arms and shoulders at the same time as both feet, legs and hips? So feel all 4 limbs simultaneously. Feel the whole of the spine and the whole of the head and the whole of the body. Feel the whole body. Lying on the ground, breathing. Om Diao. Shanti. Ranti. Riksham. Shanti. Prithivi. Shanti Rapaha. Shanti Roshadharaha. Shanti. Vanaspatayaha. Shantirishvidevaha. Shanti Brahma. Shanti. Sarvam Shanti. Shantireva. Shanti. Sarvam Shanti. Shantireva. Shanti. Om. So may there be peace on the earth. May there be peace in the waters, in the oceans and the rivers, and the coral reefs and the underground reservoirs. May there be peace. May there be peace in all of the plants. May there be peace in the air and in all of the beings, in all of the worlds. May there be peace, true peace everywhere, true peace. Om Dhyao. Shantiriksham Shanti. Prithivi Shantirapaha. Shantiroshadharaha Shanti. Vanaspatayaha Shantirishvidevaha Shanti Brahma Shanti. Sarvam Shanti. Shantireva Shanti. Om Dhyao. Blessed Mother, keep them safe and all around who love them. Hold them closely as they dream amidst the moon and stars above them. Let them know that they are loved, and keep sad days far and few, and hold them here in perfect peace till morning breaks anew.